So this has been an interesting week because it's almost been like one of those Christmas Carol movies where the Cavs, like, they're on this run, they're looking like they're about to break through that ceiling, and they have to face all of their ghosts of the past. Like, it's like, okay, LeBron, and we all kind of expected LeBron, Lakers. Okay, yeah, that's obviously going to be something. We beat LeBron, cool. The next game, oh yeah, Tyrone does coach the Clippers. Okay, yeah, that game was what it was. And then you play Sacramento. You're like, Mike Brown's still in the league, Matthew Dellavedova's still here. What is going on? And then you look at the schedule, you're like, oh, the Warriors are the next game. No, this is just the ghost of our past that we're playing against. But that's so weird of an experience, but it's also been just like a weird trip. What have you been able to make of that, Ab?
Yeah, no, it has been weird. It's like a trip down memory lane, ghosts of Cavs past, like you said. The Mike Brown one also shocked me. I forgot in general about his existence. And when they pull him up for an interview in the middle of the game, I was like, oh, Mike Brown, that's right. Obviously, the thing everyone looks forward to is playing LeBron. So in the West Coast trip, that was my focus, and being able to beat him for the first time since 2011, I think, was just almost a passing of the torch of the next era of the Cavs, that they were finally able to do it. I was a little nervous going into the game because they looked scared during that first quarter. Like, the intimidation factor of being in a Cavs jersey and playing against LeBron James, I think, weighs on the young guys on the team. It's just like a little bit intimidating. So I think they were a little rusty to start off, but I mean, really came into their own in that game. Since that game, though, have struggled quite a bit to get their footing. And look, that's going to happen in some of these West Coast trips. It's not easy to travel to these different time zones and have to play on a different schedule and a different rhythm than they're used to. So sometimes it doesn't go your way, and that's kind of how it is right now. But it would be nice to close out the series against the Warriors and be able to get a win. But look, they'll take some lessons from it either way, and be able to bring it back home and maybe have, the tough conversations about how things went over on the West Coast.
Yeah, and it's like, it's been interesting to see because I think all of these games on the West Coast trip have pretty much been the same exact game for the Cavs. Because even in that the Lakers game, they kind of just folded early in the fourth quarter. Like, I think they put their starters on the bench with like 4 minutes left to go. And then they made a little bit of a run, and they just they just gave up on the ideal of winning that game. So like, that never got interesting in that one. But then the same exact thing happens to the Clippers. And then the Kings game, which we're going to get into, is a little bit different because they're down most of that game. They come back and you're like, okay, we're doing the thing, right? And then it just didn't happen, right? It seemed like that was one where it's like, it didn't feel like it was in the cards, because it's like every time like a break would happen, we get a bad possession or a turnover or something here, and it just kills our momentum. And we're talking about that Sacramento game. What were the things that really jumped off the page to you that were concerns?
Yeah, so turnovers was definitely a big one for me. Just not being smart and careful with the ball. I think the turnovers really hurt us throughout most of the game, to be honest. The other thing that was tough, which is in some ways a little bit out of our control, was Sacramento was shooting out of their minds for no reason. Like, they were 43% from three, which, like, so far this season, the highest team is like 42% from three averaged overall. So it was truly like their best game possible. And you could feel it throughout the game, where you're like, seriously, this is the Kings and they're making everything. It just felt like they couldn't miss. And it was hard for us, I think, to gain some footing defensively because of that. It was a little bit frustrating to watch. I think the other thing that was interesting to me was the minutes that the starters were getting. I mean, Darius and Donovan have both battled recent injuries, and I was interested to see the amount both of them were still playing. Just wondering with Darius if there's still some issues there just based on how he was playing. It wasn't his best basketball, obviously, and if maybe he should be getting a few less minutes right now until he is fully back and ready to go, and that we don't need to be killing him out there. But curious what you think about that on just Darius and kind of where he's at.
Yeah. I think when you come back from injury, like, it goes one or two ways where it's like, hey, you have like two great games and like people just don't worry about it anymore. But eventually you're going to slump a little bit because you're still injured, right? And I think he's starting to feel the effects of, okay, you know, I can't see out of certain pockets. I don't have the depth perception that I'm used to having right now. And I think that's led to a lot of turnovers. And obviously your depth perception being off, that's going to lead to a lot of missed jumpers. And he just looks off right now. You know, it's the West Coast trip. I think he needs like another, you know, I think Donovan Mitchell talks about it a lot, being aggressive and encouraging guys to be aggressive. He needs a game where he gets off for like 15 in the first quarter, and I think he'll be back on track. But with DG, like, it's like, yes, he's going to slump every once in a while, but that's why you have Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan, he's always going to be able to get you 25, 30, and be able to get those things for you, and then DG can come in and help. But it's been... One of the things I think is interesting is this whole wing defender issue that the Cavs have had, right? Jason Tatum's been able to go off. I mean, Paul George, for that first half, I was like, Paul George has never looked this good. Even in a Pacers uniform, he didn't look that good. But, you know, even things like Norman Powell coming off the bench and giving you like 22, like that's the stuff that has been a real issue. And I think the Cavs are running into a spot where they need to figure out their plan for these wing, you know, these bigger wing guys who could score on the perimeter better than what they have. Because right now they're kind of forced, if it's an elite guy, to put Evan Mobley at the top of the key and kind of use him there. But then they're giving away offensive rebounds when they do that. Or you get Evan Mobley into foul trouble early on, which has been a part of the problem during this losing streak. So they don't really have like a great solution there for that wing defender. What do you think they can do to kind of shore that up?
Yeah, it's hard because I don't even know what the right answer is at this point, because a lot of the expectations we had coming into the season are not coming to fruition. For example, Isaac Okoro, I know we talked about him last time, but he has struggled a lot. So it's hard to want to give him more minutes than he's getting because he is a liability offensively. I think Dean only got, I want to say, like 14 minutes against Sacramento. So maybe they could have given him some more minutes, because I know Karras was, I mean, I think Karras almost had 40 minutes. So I think Dean has done okay defensively, and maybe giving him some more of that time would be beneficial, or at least trying to see if it works. Because yeah, you're right. At this point in time, they just don't have an answer, and they make the opposing teams' wings look like the greatest they've looked in their career. Paul George being one of them just looked, the best he has, and we had no answer for it.
Yeah, and then the obvious solution is, hey, Isaac Okoro is supposed to be the solution there, but I've noticed something with, like, when he had to start for the Detroit game. I think that's probably the best game that he had all season. He looked like, okay, this is the stuff I remember him doing last year that gave me hope. And one of the things I'm thinking is he's not really adjusting well to coming off the bench. And he's not somebody you can justify starting right now because of his offensive deficiencies. And I still think there's a good amount of potential to get out of a guy like Isaac, because he's really athletic. He's great on a fast break. He's good on a run. Like, he can be a great defender. He has value, but he's not confident. And one of the things I thought about was, I don't know how he would feel about it, or JB would feel about it, but it seems like he's somebody who could benefit from maybe spending a couple of weeks with the Charge, or maybe even a month with the Charge, just so he can be on the floor a lot, get a lot of offensive possessions, and get some confidence in, like, okay, I know I'm great at doing this. I know I'm good at doing this. Because right now, I think he's letting his three-point shooting really just, like, dip into everything else in his game, and now he just looks so unsure of himself that he's almost an automatic turnover. Or he takes, them shots when basketball players take them shots and they don't want to take the shot, but they know they got it. It's like when you saw Andy take a three every once in a while back in the day. It's like, oh, you're about to take a bad shot, and you know it. Everybody knows it. Everybody's like, don't take that shot, but he has to take that shot. And that's what it looks like when he takes one of those threes. He's like, oh, I guess I got to shoot it, right? I don't want to be Ben Simmons and not shoot at all. So he has to do something. But I feel like right now, for him coming off the bench, he knows, like, I got 5 minutes, and if I miss 2 shots, like, I'm going to get pulled. It's not good for his confidence, but he doesn't have the opportunity to get a lot of playing time to develop in the NBA. So I'm thinking like maybe he would benefit from assignment, and maybe in the spring the Cavs could reap from that benefit, because if he could just be a 30%, like we don't need him to be who would be like a prime 3-and-D guy back in the day, like like Robert Covington comes to mind, but like he wasn't like a great, but like we don't even need him to be like Robert Covington, who was like a 35% 3-point shooter. We kind of just need him to be Alonzo G, where it's like, hey, just shoot like 30% to where they at least have to respect the spacing on that side. And I'm thinking like,
issue is like they don't respect, they know he is not going to be getting the ball and taking shots and making them. So it's like, it is that's what makes it such a liability, is that if he could even just be a little bit of a threat offensively, it would totally change the game for sure.
Yeah, and it's like if he's not a threat on the 3-point line, his best move was faking that three and then kind of driving straight to the cup. But he can't do that because nobody's biting on that move anymore. No. And that's where I'm like, you got to figure out something better than what the plan is right now, because I think he's not going to get any better doing what he's doing right now. And I don't think this situation is going to get any better, but they need somebody with that length to be able to defend, because it's a massive problem. You talk about where you have to play. We haven't played Giannis yet. You know what I mean? Like, we still got that monster to deal with. There's Giannis in this conference. I mean, like, if you want to talk about like future goals getting to NBA Finals, Luka's going to get there eventually. You don't want to play Luka with no solution on the wing there. So what do you say?
No, I agree. There's bigger fish to fry out there that we are going to have to prepare for, and we really don't have an answer for at this point in time. But I do kind of like what you're saying about giving Isaac some charge time, just because I do think it is a confidence thing in a lot of ways, and I think guys can really get in their heads more than people realize, and how much that affects their play on the court. So if he can just be able to get some of that confidence back and feel what it feels like to be out there on the court, taking different types of shots and having success in it, it's worth a shot. You know, you might as well, because obviously what they're doing right now for him is not working, and just having him play 6 minutes a game and scoring 2 points is not going to help him improve at all.
Yeah, some players need to feel like they feel like when they check in, they're helping the team win, right? Yeah. And I don't feel like Isaac feels that right now. Like, I don't feel like he's in a position where he feels like, hey, when I come in, I'm impacting the game, I'm going to do this. When he starts, you can see it. You can see like, okay, he feels that, he's getting that. And, you know, as much as I would love to just like be able to start him, you can't start him right now, especially like when you're trying to run Karras out there. Like, so he has to figure it out for himself. Like, okay, how can I be really effective and be an impact player in 10 minutes? I think that's something the veteran, probably like a Kevin Love's got to be able to say to him. It's like, hey, you got to figure out what you can do in 10 minutes to impact the game and how you can feel good about it. Because right now, you could tell like he just doesn't feel good about not being the starter, and that adjustment, he feels like he's taking a step back. But Kevin would know better than anybody. I mean, who took a bigger step back than Kevin Love to figure out, okay, I'm not 30-minute a guy, but I can be 20-minute a guy now, right? Yep. I think that might have to be what Isaac has to adjust to, and I think maybe it stay with the charge where he can understand that this is his role. This is what we want you to do. It's a different role, but this is what we want you to do. And maybe he can come back and be more effective, because we really need somebody who can, because the idea is like, hey, if you can have Donovan and Darius in there and he can be serviceable offensively, he would be in there in the last 5 minutes of games, like, because you're going to need him defensively. But right now you just can't put him in because he can't shoot free throws. He can't shoot. And he's kind of a liability out there to the point to where it doesn't even matter with his defense. And you're seeing that kind of affect his defense, where he's not the same defender he was last year. So I think that's one of the things. And look, JB has done a great job with development with this team. Obviously, I think that's one of those more complex solutions with guys. You know, they're a 5th overall pick. You're not going to be 5th overall expectations, but you could be a solid bench player still. A lot of solid bench players get drafted in the top 10 of the NBA draft. So, you know, it's about figuring out that adjustment and getting Isaac to understand his new role and his adjustment. Speaking of adjustments, we kind of talked about it earlier with Darius Garland on this slump. Who do you feel? I think Karras did a good job last night of stepping up in that absence of a dominant Darius Garland game. But with the absence of when DG's slumping and you don't have Ricky Rubio out there, who do you feel like the onus is on to, hey, you got to step up in these moments so we can get more consistent scoring?
Yeah, look, Karras is definitely the one that you need to show up. But I mean, off the bench, you've got Jetty, you've got Kevin. Like, you need one of those guys to be able to show up. Dean also, but we didn't really have any of that against the Kings, which I think it shows when you don't have at least one, if not two, of those bench guys have a moment. I mean, Kevin obviously has those more often, I think, than a lot of other bench guys. But you're going to have to see it from a Jetty, from a Dean, in order to feel okay. Because, like you mentioned before, DG is going to have those nights, and especially when he's coming off an injury, you have to have other guys that are going to be able to step up. And if they don't, then we have the result that we just had. Donovan isn't really going to have the type of slumps I think that DG has. He's been pretty consistent on at least 25 points a game, if not 30 plus for the most part so far. But yeah, you're, like I said, you're just going to have to get it from one of them. And if you don't, that's the result.
Yeah. And then kind of leaning into that, the bench scoring has been a little bit inconsistent with this team, right? Like, some days you get it, some days you don't. What do you think is the key? Like, I think Ricky's probably a big key to that, but other than that, right now, what they can do, what do you think is the key to kind of making sure that you can get a consistent output out the bench?
Yeah, gosh, it would be nice to have Ricky back right now, wouldn't it? Like, there's so many moments where I'm like, oh God, we would love to have him right now, but unfortunately it's still going to be a little while till then. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing I just said. I feel like Kevin is the big one that I feel like the confidence the team has when Kevin Love is shooting well, it just brings up everyone's spirits. I think it makes everyone else feel more confident as well, just because of the leadership he brings. And I don't know, there's just something about him having a good night that feels different than other guys having a good night. So I think that him scoring better will bring that more consistency from the rest of those guys around him.
Do you think Neto playing more minutes would actually be helpful? Because they don't really have point guards out there. And I think, like, Darius is playing way too many minutes. And it's kind of, I understand why you don't want to go to Neto too much, right? But, like, maybe if he can get back his 5 minutes a game he was getting before Darius Garland came back, maybe that could be something helpful, just having a point guard out there. Because I feel like sometimes that unit kind of just, they either move the ball like exceptionally well, or it's like some craziness that goes down with that unit.
Yeah, maybe they do try him a little bit more because, like we just mentioned too, with DG, like we would maybe prefer him take a few less minutes right now as he's coming back, so that we're not overdoing it while he's still kind of, not even the eye injury, but also I think he had, was it the left knee that he sat out the one game when him and Donovan both sat out? I don't know if that's still affecting him at all too. So maybe it is just like a couple more Neto minutes to just give DG some breathing time so that we're not asking so much of him right now while he's still gaining his footing.
Yeah.
But yeah, minutes do worry me still. Like I say that cautiously because I don't know how it would actually go.
Well, it's just like right now he's the only real point guard on the team that's getting minutes. And until Ricky comes back, there's going to be nobody to really do some of that facilitating to take some of that load off of him. Because right now, if you want to move the ball, it's just Darius. And that can't be how this team can sustain in the long run. They need to be able to have more movement and just get guys in usual positions. And like,
we saw in the playoffs last year, or in the play-in games, how much that hurt them when it was really just DG that could do that. They didn't have any other option, and it really hurt their ability to win those games, I think. And if you had another, obviously Ricky was done at that point and gone. If you had another guy at that point, that would have, I think, helped them have a better shot at winning those play-in games. So for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something they can look at. Now, speaking of things that we're going to look at, we asked you guys, and I don't know if this was a mistake or not. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We asked you guys for suggestions on what our name of this podcast should be. Lawrence had this suggestion. He said another one, CAVS HQ. It's not bad. It's not bad. He put the two bullseye emojis on. He felt really good about that one. you
Yeah, he
know.
was like, nailed it. This is the title. No questions asked.
Absolutely. All right, imagine with one that says, "How about Cavs Q&A?" This is a great episode. I don't listen to Cavs post game answer sessions, or the post game press conferences. So Abby discussing some of the things the players discussed was a highlight for me. Big old smiley face, 6 likes.
Love
Okay,
it.
Q&A.
Happy to provide the information.
You know what I mean? It's what we try to do here. Golf Hammer decided this is my opportunity to throw as many chips in the pile as possible. So there are a million suggestions in this one. All right. So he has some ideas playing on the definition of the word cavalier attitude. There's cavalier attitude, the cavalier truth, one based on Mobley and Allen's defense, cavalier block party, some randos, wide and gold rundown, dropping dimes, into the Cavalier verse. I kind of like that one because it's Spider Verse and then Spider, and some to honor Joe Tate, to the line, to the lane. I feel like people gonna expect Joe Tate. You know what I mean?
Right. We can't live up to that. We can't live up to that.
And then Wham with a right hand. Also, I don't know. What you think about those?
A lot of good suggestions. It's hard if I want to do something like more niche or something just like general with our, initials or whatever, because I feel like that was the range of the answers we got. I don't know. It's tough. I like the simple ones like Cavs Q&A or just, straight to the point like that. But the Spider-Man related one was kind of funny too. I did enjoy that.
It's just hopefully we don't get sued by Sony if we use that.
Yeah, right.
Next one is Cavs attack, but it's like an A and the end is with the Q.
I see.
That might be a winner. That might be good. That might be good years. So next one is Tale of Two Cavs.
We're feeling that this week. I mean, the first few weeks of the Cavs and then this week of the Cavs, 2 different teams.
They had that against the Lakers, right? Where they had like a horrible first half and then just came back and just outscored the Lakers by like 15 points in the third quarter or something like that.
Yeah, 2 different teams. They got over the scary LeBron factor. So
wait till he's in this arena. That's the real scary LeBron factors. When he plays here, he always gives us at least 45. Like it's always
every time. I went to one game during the heart of the pandemic where I swear there were 20 fans in the arena. Like you had to sit in one section almost by yourself, wearing a mask with no one near you. And I watched the Cavs Lakers game and LeBron went off for 40 as he, always does against us. And it was an eerie experience just watching him do that with no one in the arena. I was like, wow, is he doing this for me? I'm honored.
No, it's always funny too. Cause like people we talked about this before where people would make the joke, oh, LeBron left Cleveland. But sometimes it would be better if he didn't love us the way he does, because he does love us. So every time he plays in Cleveland, he is so excited to do it. So we know we're never getting the LeBron off night. Like the day where he plays 25 minutes and scores 15 points, we don't get that LeBron game in Cleveland. We get the LeBron, I'm going to get 45, 10, and 12, and then I'm going to remind everybody I'm still very good, and maybe I might make a game-winning shot. Remember when he did the All-Star break? The second they started cheering him in the All-Star break, I was like, he's going to have 50 tonight.
For this matchup, he even wore Cavs colored shoes. I don't know if everyone had a chance to see that, but he posted it on Instagram and his caption was "For the land." And then in his interviews post game, he was talking about how he got in trouble last time he hyped up how good the Cavs are. But continued to say that it's just a really good young team and how, it's just a lot of guys who love playing ball. They're not all about gloating on social media. They just have a love for the game. And he went on for a couple minutes about this, so I'm sure he got in trouble again, but I will take it. It's an honor.
He gonna get himself in trouble, man. This team's so good. He just look at the Lakers like, yeah, Russ. They unselfish, Russ. They give me the ball, Russ.
He was literally describing the opposite of the Lakers. He's like, I love how they do this. It's not what we do.
And then the last one, did we get to the Q-Moo show yet?
No, I don't think so.
Kumu show. I don't know. That sounds like weird. I don't like that one.
I can't say it. I feel like I would stumble over it every time.
Yeah, it just, and then like the way like the U's are in there, but it's capital. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if that'll work.
I don't
Thanks
know
for
if
the suggestion, though. We appreciate it.
that. Well, those were the suggestions. We'll eventually come up with a name for this podcast. We'll figure out something. Maybe you do a fan vote or something like that. But want to thank everybody for coming in here. If you are a fan of what Abby does, make sure you follow her on Twitter at Abby_Mueller. Is it just Abby_Mueller now?
Yeah, Abby_Mueller_. Not verified. Haven't paid for the Twitter Blue yet, but maybe someday. Maybe if I hit 10K followers, I will. I'll pay for that Twitter Blue.
You don't want that many followers on Twitter, man. You don't.
But, yeah, no. I mean, with each 1,000 you get, it gets worse and worse. So
it progressively, and it's like, oh man, I can't talk about anything right now.
No.
But
it gets bad.
It's always a fun time. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit that like button because the Cavs content is coming. 3 times? Well, they play like 3 times a week now, and then
roughly, yeah.
It's a weird schedule. It's like, yeah.
These West Coast games are killing me with staying up till 1 a.m. every time. So I'm looking forward to a home stretch coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, oh my goodness, the 1 a.m. stuff. I have sometimes I have classes, like late night classes on Wednesday, and then like I have to watch the Cavs game after that, and it's like, oh, so I'm kind of used to the West Coast trip. This was actually more convenient because I just got back. I was like, oh, the game's on. I don't have to but then I had to watch commercials, so I guess it wasn't more convenient. But enough about my personal sleep schedule struggles. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.